Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a fabulous Friday here in the studio as I record. You may notice a little scratchiness in my voice. I lost my voice a few days back and it's been slow to come back to completely to normal, but let's just pretend like it makes me sound more gruff and rough and tumble. Today, I think, still dealing with this a little bit. I think I'm gonna take a reading route, if you will, and pick up. I've been reading from Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton for quite some time, just sporadically. I'm going to pick up the original book one, Journey of Souls, which is both of them are case studies of life between lives. And very interesting, of course, Dr. Newton spent, decades taking people through past life regression and then okay, after you died, what happened? And then just documenting what happened on the other side. And it's really fascinating how people, deal with their soul groups and soul pods and soul families and, how they, today I decided to read from a section about choosing a new body. I'm going to read a case study. So how that process looks and is experienced by us on the other side, supposedly. What was cool about these books is he found a lot of overlap in people's claims of what they experienced, which I think is quite validating as to how things are structured. And just very, very fascinating. I recommend both books. But with that being said, I'm going to just jump in and read from it looks like chapter 13 of Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. It's titled Choosing a New Body, a little bit from the doctor at first, and then it goes into a case study. And we'll see how long the cases are, and I may just, may get to multiple, depending. And when I am reading a case, keep in mind, it's him with a patient who's under hypnosis. So it kind of goes back and forth from him questioning to them answering, and I'll do my best to kind of inflect so you can tell as I swap between reading, the patient and Dr. Newton. So, all right, here we go. Choosing a new body. In the place of life selection, our souls preview the lifespan of more than one human being within the same time cycle. When we leave this area, most souls are inclined toward one leading candidate presented to us for our soul's occupation. However, our spiritual advisors give us ample opportunity to reflect upon all we have seen in the future before making a final decision. This chapter is devoted to the many elements which go into that decision. Our deliberations over body alternatives actually begin before we go to the place of life selection. Souls do this in order to adequately prepare themselves for viewing certain people in different cultural settings on Earth. I sense those souls who set up the screening room know in advance what to show us because of these thoughts in our minds. Great care must be taken in choosing just the right body to serve us in the life to come. As I have said, guides and peer group members are part of this evaluation process prior to and after we visit the place of life selection. When listening to my subjects describe all the preparations which go into picking a new physical body, I am constantly reminded of the fluidity of spiritual time. Our teachers use relative future time in the place of life selection to allow souls to measure human usefulness for working on unfinished lesson plans. Blueprints for the next life vary in the degree of difficulty the soul mind sets for itself. If we have just come off an easy life, making little interpersonal progress, our soul might want to choose a person in the next time cycle who will face heartache and perhaps tragedy. It is not out of the ordinary for me to see someone who has skated through an unchallenging life, overloading themselves with turmoil in the next one to catch up with their learning goals. The soul mind is far from infallible, as it works in conjunction with a biological brain. Regardless of our soul level, being human means we will all make mistakes and have the necessity of engaging in mid-course corrections during our lives. This will be true with anybody we select. Before taking up the more complex mental factors in a soul's decision to join with the brain of a human baby, I will begin with the physical aspects of body choice. Despite the fact that our souls know in advance what they are going to look like, a national survey in the United States indicated 90% of both males and females were dissatisfied with the physical characteristics of their bodies. This is the power of conscious amnesia. Much unhappiness is created by society stereotyping an ideal appearance. Yet, this too is part of a soul's lesson plan. How many times have we all looked in a mirror and said, "Is this a real me? Why do I appear this way? Am I in a body where I belong?" These questions are especially poignant when the type of body we have prevents us from doing those things we think we ought to be able to do in this life. I have had a number of clients who came to me convinced their bodies prevented them from achieving satisfying lives. Many handicapped people think if it were not for a genetic mistake or being the victim of an accidental injury which damaged their body, their lives would be more fulfilled. As heartless as this may sound, my cases show few real accidents involving body damage which don't fall under the free will of souls. As souls, we choose our bodies for a reason. Living in a damaged body does not necessarily have to involve a karmic debt we are paying off because of past life responsibility for an injury to someone else. As my next case will demonstrate, when a soul is inside a damaged body, this choice can involve a learning path to another type of lesson. It is difficult to tell a newly injured person trying to cope with physical disablement that he or she has an opportunity to advance at a faster rate than those of us with healthy bodies and minds. This knowledge must come through self-discovery. The case histories of my clients convince me that the effort necessary to overcome a body impediment does accelerate advancement. Those of us whom society deems less than perfect suffer discrimination, which makes the burden even heavier. Overcoming the obstacles of physical ailments and hurt makes us stronger for the ordeal. Our bodies are an important part of the trial we set for ourselves in life. The freedom of choice we have with these bodies is based far more on psychological elements than from the estimated 100,000 genes inherited by each human being. However, I want to show in the opening case of this chapter why souls want certain bodies based largely on physical reasons without heavy psychological implications. The case exhibits the planning involved in the decision of a soul to be in contrasting physical bodies in different lives. After this case, we will examine why souls choose their bodies for other reasons. Case 26 was a tall, well-proportioned woman who enjoyed participating in sports despite being bothered all her life with recurring leg pains. During her preliminary interview, I learned the pain was a dull ache in both legs about midway down the thigh bones. Over a period of years, she had been to a number of doctors who could find no medical evidence of anything wrong with her legs. Clearly, she was worn down and willing to try anything for relief. When I heard the doctors had concluded her discomfort was probably psychosomatic, I suspected the origin of this woman's pain might lie in a past life. Before going to the source of her problem, I decided to take my client through a couple of past lives to ascertain her motivations for body choices. When I asked her to tell me about a life in which she was the happiest with a human body, she told of being in the body of a Viking called Leith around 800 AD. She said Leith was a child of nature who traveled by the Baltic Sea route into Western Russia. Leith was described as wearing a long, fur-lined cloak and soft, form-fitting animal skin pants with roped-up boots and a cap wrapped with metal. He carried an axe and a heavy, broad-bladed sword, which he wielded easily in battle. My subject was intrigued by the picture in her mind of again being inside this magnificently proportioned warrior with dirty strands of reddish blonde hair spilling over my shoulders. Standing well over 6 feet tall, he must have been a giant of his time with enormous strength and huge chest and powerful limbs. A man of great endurance, Leith navigated with other Norsemen over long distances, sailing up rivers and hiking through thick virgin forests, pillaging settlements along the way. Leith was killed during a raid while looting a village. Case 26. Doctor, what was most important to you about this life you have just recalled as Leith the Viking? To experience the magnificent body and the feeling of raw physical power. I have never had another body like that one in all my existences on Earth. I was fearless because my body did not react to pain even when wounded. In every respect, it was flawless. I never got sick. Was Leith ever mentally troubled by anything? Was there any emotional sensitivity for you in this life? Are you kidding? Never. I lived only for each day. My concerns were not getting enough fighting, plunder, food, drink, and sex. All my feelings were channeled into physical pursuits. What a body. All right, let's analyze your decision to choose this great body in advance of Leith's life. At the time you made your choice in the spirit world, did you request this body of good genetic stock, or did your guides simply make the selection for you? Counselors don't do that. Then explain to me how this body came to be chosen by you. I wanted one of the best physical specimens on Earth at the time, and Leith was offered to me as a possibility. You had only one choice? No, I had two choices of people living in this time. What if you didn't like any of the body choices presented to you for occupation in that time segment? The alternatives of my choices always seem to match what I want to experience in my lives. Do you have the sense the counselors know in advance which body selections are exactly right for you, or are they so harried it's just an indiscriminate grab bag of body choices? Nothing here is careless. The counselors arrange everything. I have wondered if the counselors might get mixed up once in a while. With all the new babies born, could they ever assign two souls to one baby, or leave a baby without a soul for a while? We aren't in an assembly line. I told you they know what they're doing. They don't make mistakes like that. I believe you. Now, as to your choices, I am curious if two bodies were sufficient for your examination in the place of life selection. We don't need a lot of choices for lives once the counselors get their heads together about our desires. I already had some idea of the right body size and shape and the sex I wanted before being exposed to my two choices. What was the body choice you rejected in favor of Leith? That of a soldier from Rome, also with the strong body I wanted in that lifetime. What was wrong with being an Italian soldier? I didn't want control over me by the state. Too restrictive. Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to tell you about our sponsor, Talkspace. As a listener of this podcast, you know it's important to prioritize your mental health and wellness, because when you work on yourself, you'll start to see and feel positive changes in all areas of your life. When it comes to getting help via therapy, Talkspace makes it super convenient to get affordable mental health care from the comfort of your home that's in network for most insurers. Your therapist can help you set and achieve your goals, and you don't need to wait until something goes wrong in your life to work with someone. Talkspace is there to help with any specific challenges you might be facing. It's the #1 online therapy platform with thousands of licensed therapists trained in over 40 specialties, including anxiety, depression, relationships, and more. And as a listener of this podcast, you'll get $100 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/positive. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/positive to get $100 off your first month. That's Talkspace.com/positive. As I remember, by the 9th century, much of Europe had fallen under the authority of Charlemagne's Holy Roman Empire. That was the trouble with the soldier's life. As a Viking, I answered to nobody. I was free. I could move around with my band of invaders in the wilderness without any governmental control. then freedom was also an issue in your choice. Absolutely. The freedom of movement, the fury of battle, the use of my strength and uninhibited action. Life at sea and in the forest was robust and constant. I know the life was cruel too, but it was a brutal time. I was no better or worse than the rest. But what about other considerations, such as personality? Nothing bothered me as long as I was able to physically express myself to the fullest. Did you have a mate, children? Too restrictive. I was on the move. I possessed many women, some willing, others not, and this pleasure added to my expression of physical power. I didn't want to be tied down in any way. So the body of Leith was your preference as a pure physical extension of sensual feeling? Yes, I wanted to experience all body senses to the fullest, nothing more. I felt my subject was now ready to go to work on her current problem. After bringing her out of superconscious into a subconscious state, I asked her to go directly to a life which may have involved leg pain. Almost at once, the woman dropped into her most recent past life and became a 6-year-old girl named Ashley living in New England in the year 1871. Ashley was riding in a fully loaded horse-drawn carriage when suddenly she opened the door and tumbled out under the vehicle. When she hit the cobblestone street, one of the heavy rear carriage wheels rolled over her legs at the same point above both knees, crushing the bones. My subject re-experienced a sharp pain in her legs while describing the fall. Despite efforts from local physicians and the prolonged use of wood splints, Ashley's leg bones did not heal properly. She was never able to stand or walk again, and poor circulation caused repeated swelling in her legs for the rest of her rather short life. Ashley died in 1912 after a productive period of years as a writer and tutor of disadvantaged children. When the narration of Ashley's life ended, I returned my subject to the spirit world. In your history of body choices, why did you wait 1,000 years before being a physically strong man and a crippled woman? Well, of course, I developed a better sense of who I was during the lives in between. I chose to be crippled to gain intellectual concentration. You chose a broken body for this? Yes, you see, being unable to walk made me read and study more. I developed my mind and listened to my mind. I learned to communicate well and to write with skills because I wasn't distracted. I was always in bed. Was any characteristic about your soul particularly evident in both Ashley and Leith the Viking? The part of me which craves fiery expression was in both bodies. I want you to go to the moment you were in the process of choosing the life of Ashley. Tell me how you decided on this particular damaged body. I picked a family in a well-established, settled part of America. I wanted a place with libraries and to be taken care of by loving parents so I could devote myself to scholarship. I constantly wrote to many unhappy people and became a good teacher. As Ashley, why did you do this? What did you do for this loving family who took care of you? It always works two ways, the benefits and the liabilities. I chose this family because they needed the intensity of love with someone totally dependent upon them all their lives. We were very close as a family because they were lonely before I was born. I came late as their only child. They wanted a daughter who would not marry and leave them to be lonely again. So it was a trade-off, most definitely. Then let's track this decision further back to the place of life selection. When your souls first saw Ashley's life, did you see the details of your carriage accident then? Of course, but it wasn't an accident. It was supposed to happen. Once you came to Earth, who was responsible for the fall? Was it your soul mind or Ashley's biological mind? We worked in unison. She was going to be fooling with the carriage door handle, and I capitalized on that. Tell me, what was going through your soul mind in the life selection room when you saw the scene of Ashley falling and being injured? I thought about how this crippled body could be put to good use. I had some other choices for body injuries, but I preferred this one because I didn't want to have the capability for much movement. I wanted to pursue the issue of causality here. Would Ashley have fallen anyway if she had a soul other than your own? We were right for each other. That doesn't answer my question. There were forces beyond my knowledge as a spirit. When I saw Ashley for the first time, I was able to see her without me, healthy, older, another life possibility. Now we are getting somewhere. Are you saying if Ashley had begun her life with another soul entity that she might not have fallen at all? Yes, that's a possibility, one of many. She could also have been less severely injured with the ability to walk on crutches. Well, did you see a physically healthy Ashley living happily without your soul? I saw a grown woman, normal legs, unhappiness with a man, frustration at being trapped in an unrewarding life, sorrowful parents, but easier. No, that course would not have worked well for either of us. I was the best soul for her. Were you the prime mover of the fall once you elected to become Ashley's soul? It was both of us. We were one at that moment. She was being naughty, bouncing around in the carriage, playing with the door handle when her mother said she must stop. Then I was ready, and she was ready. Just how rigid was your destiny? Once you were Ashley's soul, was there any way you could have backed out of this entire incident in the carriage? I can tell you I had a flash just before I fell. I could have pulled back and not fallen out. A voice in my mind, inside my head said, "It's an opportunity. Don't wait any longer. Take the fall. This is what you wanted. It's the best course of action." Was that particular moment important? I didn't want Ashley to get too much older. But the pain and suffering this child went through, it was horrible. The agony of those first 5 weeks was beyond belief. I almost died. But I learned from enduring it all, and I now see the memories of Leith's capacity for managing pain helped me. Did your inner mind have any regrets during those moments when the pain was most severe? As I slipped in and out of consciousness during the worst of the ordeal, my mind began gaining in power. Overriding my damaged body, I started to better control the pain, lying in bed, the doctors helpless. The skills I developed in managing pain were later used to concentrate on my studies, and my counselor was helping me too, in subtle ways. So you gained a lot in this life by being unable to walk? Yes, I became a listener and thinker. I corresponded with many people and learned to write with inspiration. I gained teaching abilities with the young and felt guided by an internal power. Was your counselor proud of your accomplishments after you returned to the spirit world? Very, although I was told I had become a little too indulged and pampered, but that's an okay trade-off. How does your experience with the strong body of Leith and the weak one of Ashley help you today, or is this of no consequence? I benefit every day by my appreciation of the necessity of a union between mind and body to learn lessons. During my client's reliving of the street scene which broke her legs, I initiated desensitization measures. At the close of our session together, I then deprogrammed her generational memory of leg pain entirely. This woman later notified me she has had no further pain and regularly enjoys playing tennis. The two past lives I have represented in this case were largely devoted to physical choices for soul actualization in two quite different environments. Souls search for self-expression by developing different aspects of their character. Regardless of what physical or mental tools are used through the use of many bodies, the laws of karma will prevail. If the soul chooses one extreme somewhere down the line, this will be counterbalanced by an opposite choice to even out development. The physical lives of Leith and Ashley are examples of karmic compensation. The Hindus believe a rich man sooner or later must become a beggar for his soul to develop adequately. By surviving different challenges, our soul identity is strengthened. The word strength should not be misunderstood. My subjects say the real lessons of life are learned by recognizing and coming to terms with being human. Even as victims, we are beneficiaries because it is how we stand up to failure and duress which really marks our progress in life. Sometimes one of the most important lessons is to learn to just let go of the past. While souls carefully consider the physical attributes of an earth body in a variety of cultural settings, they give much more attention to the psychological aspects of human life. This decision is the most vital part of the entire selection process for the soul. Before entering the place of life selection, it is to a soul's advantage to ponder the factors of heredity and environment, which affect how a biological life form will function. I have heard that a soul's spiritual energy has a fluctuating influence on whether the temperament of its human host will be extroverted or introverted, rationalistic or idealistic, emotionally or analytically dominated. Because of such variables, souls need to reflect in advance on the types of bodies which will serve them best in this life to come. From what I can gather, a soul's thoughts about certain human behavior preferences for themselves in the next life are known by guides and those masters charged with operating the life selection stations. It appears to me some souls take this responsibility more seriously than others. Yet a soul in the pre-life selection phase can reflect only so much on how they would fit into a specific body. When souls are called to the place of life selection, the guesswork is over. Now they must match their spiritual identity against a mortal being. Why one soul joined for psychological reasons with two human beings thousands of years apart is the basis of my next case. All right. Well, that's it now. That's it for now. I think that's a good stopping point before the next case, but I'll mark here and maybe I'll just pick up there next time I decide to read. Very interesting, isn't it? Truly an example of we experience it all, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, just fascinating perspective to consider. Well, and I hope anyone who's experiencing a challenging life or moment in a life, they can see this expanded perspective and maybe hopefully tap into this perspective to bring them some sense of peace and understanding and empowerment as they walk through the challenging moments that are inevitable. One thing's for sure, this too shall pass, right? Whatever it is. So if we can pass, as Charles Bukowski said, all that matters is how gracefully we walk through the fire. If this perspective helps you to be more graceful, I think that's something that you'll be very proud of and help to extract the optimal benefit from whatever challenge you're going through. That's it for now, folks. I do have a song to leave you with. This is Charisma. It's a remix by Murillo, a song called Waves. Murillo is actually going to be performing at the Mystic Manor coming up the coming weeks. Cool guy. Both these guys have actually performed here for little gatherings, events. Hope you like this. Charisma Waves, Murillo remix. Until next time, journey well.